Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in. I'm Kelly VDH Kushila, Publishing Director of Brave Kids Books, an imprint of Brave Healer Productions, as well as an author and illustrator. Today, we celebrate meaningful stories and the creators behind them. I'm joined by Dr. Eyal Levit, author of The King's Race, a heartfelt tale of courage, kindness, and faith. The King's Race tells a heartful story of a young horse named Spots, born different from the rest of his herd, but destined for something greater. Through friendship, compassion, and courage, Spots learns that true greatness is not measured by appearance or status, but by the strength of one's own heart. A timeless tale of perseverance and quiet faith. The King's Race inspires readers to believe who they are. Welcome, Eyal, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kelly, for inviting me to be here. And for all those who don't know, let me just tell you, there is never, I believe, um, a coincidence. Everything is planned somewhere up there in the constellations. And such a plan brought me to Kelly and to Laura. Uh, I highly recommend Kelly. She has edited my book, worked tirelessly hours, and helped it shine like I would want it to shine. So, Kelly, thank you so much for the volumes of hard work, advice, suggestions, additions. You've been always available. And if you guys are trying to publish a book, it's a very difficult maze to navigate. Kelly really made it straightforward, simple. I'm telling you, you don't get paid enough. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. That's
Thank you
that's
very much.
beautiful.
No, it's from
Um,
the heart. So
let
anyway,
me let me tell everybody about a little bit about who you are. So, Dr. Eyal Levit is a doctor, an inventor, and storyteller who believes in kindness can change the world. He traveled across 4 continents, meeting amazing people and collecting stories of hope. This is his first children's book, The King's Race, and it reminds us readers that true greatness comes from courage, friendship, and following your heart. So, Eyal, tell me what inspired you to write The King's Race? Was there something specific, an experience, an image, or lesson that sparked this great story?
I love the question. Well, two things inspired it. Once is life, and we always bring our life into our daily living, our past experiences, and the desire to elevate um, those that come after me. Specifically, this was written for my youngest son. The goal is for our children and for our world that we leave behind would be better than the one we found. And in order for them to be better, we want to give them all the tools that we have garnered over the years through life. In my case, uh, while I was traveling those different continents, I was feeling miserable. I was like telling my parents, why can't I be like all the other kids? You have friends, you don't have to leave them. You have a school, you build bridges, and you don't worry about whether they will be still there if you return. Uh, but having gone through all that, I realized that those meanderings were the direction I was meant to take in order to build a more resilient, a more open-minded, a more helpful um, background. And to be able to pass it on is, I think, our mission in life in a good way. It's kind of like the books that we write. The books are worlds, and this is what I love. I don't know about you, but I love the smell of books, the library. I can get lost there. I mean, just leave me in one of those old libraries. I don't care. It can be in a village. I'll open those books, smell them, look at them. It's just you're entering into a different world, and in a small little location like Jules Verne. I mean, he never left Paris. He never left France, but he his books, he's traveled around the world because he interacted with different people and he dreamed about traveling, but in his mind, he traveled more than many of us could dream to travel in our lifetime. So the inspiration was really the desire to give as much as I can resilience and avoid the mistakes and the reduce the pain of the hesitations that I personally experienced in my life, whether there were the ups, the downs, the considerations, even whether I have anything to do in this world or whether this world is sometimes is easier not to face some of the challenges and how to handle those times when you're really down and do it in a manner that will resonate and yet inspire, build instead of break. And as we say, words build worlds. We have to choose the right words to do that. And you helped me, Kelly. Thank you very much to, I think, hopefully achieve that. And I guess the readers will have to
Yeah.
weigh in on that.
Yeah, I love how you say how we create these fascinating worlds where they're kind of like boundless and they're interdimensional and they might be imaginary, but they are so real to us as writers. I'm curious. I know, you have 3 kids, and so you sit down with your son at night, and one day he says, "What, Daddy, tell me a story." And Spot pops into your head. So tell me about how, the first words that come to your mind when you're sitting next to his bed or on his bed beginning this adventure.
Goosebumps. The first words are goosebumps. So first of all, sitting there at night, you're in this dream, about to enter into a dream, and so you get um, into that state, and you allow it to take you on a ride, and you just wonder where that ride would lead, and you take that adventure together with him as you're watching his eyes open and yet close and yet fight that heaviness and the desire to still be part of that journey. So you see that, and that kind of brings you back to when you were a child and your mom was reading to you, and you wanted so much to make it last for as long as you can, although you know that you need to go to bed. You just don't want that magical moment to disappear, and to recreate that magical moment. This is being a part of it as a dad, as a parent, is one of the uh, most indescribable experiences.
I'm sure that many parents can relate to this, and they definitely can connect with you and your son upon this journey when they're actually reading The King's Race at night, when they're actually holding the copy. Um, I'm curious, how long has The King's Race actually been in formation? From the first words up till now, since we actually going to go print it.
About 10 years.
Wow, that's good. I mean, I've heard stories that take longer, so 10 years is it's really good. You were talking earlier about how through your travels you've met many people. There's a character that is very wise, and his wisdom is very gentle in the story called Mr. Levit. Was he inspired by anyone?
It was a compilation of different people that gave rise to that. The choice of the name was a wink between me, and my son, because I was meant to read a story to them in their kindergarten, and I could not find any book that spoke to my heart and resonated the way I wanted it to inspire the children in the kindergarten. And so when at 6 p.m. I came to his room and looked and perused all the books, and then to my other kids, and I couldn't find anything in English, I decided I had to write something. And so I went to the basement where we're actually located now, and I sat and I wrote and I wrote, and till 4, 6 in the morning, when I went up, took a shower, and went and read to them. And as I read to them, and I make the voices of the different animals, because living in Africa, I felt like Dr. Doolittle over there, speaking with the animals and quacking with them. I did all the different sounds as well as they're debating there in the barn, in that scene of that really is one of the momentous points where changes the entire dynamics of do we take action, do we not take action, which we often are facing in life and in parliament, or in any kind of group dynamic. And then you have the different personalities there, and as I described it to them, I could see each of them, even though they were young, I mean 5 years old, it was resonating to them. It seemed like, yeah, I remember a discussion like that. I remember hearing adults talking like that, and it's for them funny because now the adults are like sheep, or like a rooster that he thinks everything is about him, and they felt like the spots. They felt like the wise kid in the room with all the adults around them, and then having that Samson, that old, grumpy kind of thing that nobody likes, but they have a story.
Yeah.
So when I saw that reaction, and the interesting thing is the story at that moment was not complete. As I was reading it, I was like, I don't know how much time I have, but if I'll have too much time left, I'm going to be having to just not be able to read it. I'll just have to tell it by heart. And it's like, oh my God, we love it, but we have to go. It's like, okay, thank God. I'll go back to this, but I was too tired that day to keep writing it, even though I knew I should.
Yeah.
And so I went over the next few weeks and wrote it and finished it. But again, having written it, and even having tried to publish it myself, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. And so until I didn't get a chance to work on the book with Laura from Brave Healers, about the Healthy for Life book, which I'll give them a shout out. I have the book over here, right over here. You guys did an amazing job. It's an amazing book, and I had the honor of writing chapter 12 over there about the skin. And this was by an amazing Dr. Ilana Zablowski, who was the main author of that book. And that's how I met Laura, and I got introduced to you, and I saw the books that you were writing, and I loved what you wrote. And I've seen your books on in the stores, and I was like, oh wow, so this is who actually makes that. I can't believe it. Such a famous person, and I get the honor of meeting her and her stories, that the writer. So this is how I got to you guys. And as I say, there's no coincidence. And I remember even Dr. Zablowski Amir told me, he's like, I wanted you to write a chapter, but you're so busy, you have so many patients, you don't have time. I was like, no, 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 no. This is important. I'll do it. And my family's like, you're so busy, you don't have time. Why would you? It's important.
Mm.
And so, you do a good deed and you wonder why.
Mm.
And it brings you to get rewards later on. Another lesson in life.
Right. I love how you say it's important. And I think that is very valuable today. A lot of the media and the social content out there is extremely, it feels almost redundant or rubbish, like stuff that you throw in the trash, and we're feeding our minds with that. And so to have some literature out there that feeds not only the mind, but the soul, I think is very important. And you brought up a really important topic of why the kids were so enthralled with the story you told them. And I think they connect with spots the hero horse, because of the feeling of being different. I mean, you enter into a new school, and you are the new kid, so you're feeling different. You constantly traveling, which clearly has influenced your stories through Africa and the four continents, and you're feeling constantly different. So with this said, what message do you hope young readers, especially those who feel like they don't fit in today's modern world, will take from the story?
Our differences are our strengths. We should celebrate them. That is easily said, difficult to do, and requires a long-term vision. But I remember, I don't know if that connection is the best one to use, but I remember when I was in Africa having acne and having the opportunity to treat it and wondering if I should or I shouldn't, because I felt the acne humbled me. And I felt like if I would get rid of the acne, I would lose my personality of understanding how others who may not have a perfect complexion feel. And will I become too thinking too highly of myself? You get compliments from teacher for athletics, for other stuff. And sometimes those things can get to your head. And it's important. And I remember, I did not know how to pray. We're talking about one of the sheep that says we don't know how to pray. I remember not knowing how to pray, but I remember praying and asking God every night, which I still do, to keep me humble. It was my own prayer that I created. And I think it's one of the most important thing, because if you are becoming arrogant, hubris, you're going to make mistakes. And I see that so many times with top physicians, brilliant physicians, who in their self-confidence hurt patients because they don't listen to them, because they think they know better. Nobody's God.
Yeah.
So this is important to do, and it doesn't matter how you do it. If you're meditating, it's important for you to take always some time with yourself in this crazy busy world. And maybe if you don't have a child to read to them at night, just close the lights, be with yourself and your thoughts. I did it a lot as a kid, imagining different scenarios, closing the rooms. I mean, it may sound like, oh, who's that weird guy talking? But you know what? It's important for us to realize that doing that may seem weird to others, but it's not important what others think about how we act or what we do. And the sooner we realize it, the sooner we will be able to move ourselves and bring others along forward, as opposed to move backward, because we're not tied to the crowd mentality. Like you said, there's a lot of pressure on us to conform, whether it is during the COVID, where everybody had to, stop working, or everybody was supposed to think that this was the end. And I remember my family telling me, you should not work. How can you work? You're going to bring disease here. You don't care about us. I said, look, I have training in infectious control. Yes, I'm not an infectious control doctor. I'm a dermatologist, but we know about hand washing. We know about, this is a virus. You have to deal with it like any virus. You have to take off the panic and look at it with real eyes. Then you can think straightforward and you can make the right decisions. And so instead of closing, I looked what's the weakness of the virus. I found it was weakness to ultraviolet C. I equipped my entire office. At that time, we didn't have money. We took loans. We equipped the entire office with ultraviolet C lights through our duct system. And we were able to work. None of the people in the office got any infection, even when we stopped wearing masks later on, and when we were sitting in the kitchen without masks altogether, nobody got sick. And I said, I'll work if anyone needs the money to work. And I said to the governments, instead of closing places, invest into this. Today it's it's the Spanish flu. Tomorrow it's the COVID. After tomorrow it's tuberculosis. God knows what. The point is there'll always be a different virus every so many years, 100 years, 40 years, 50 years. We need to plan an action, just like we disinfected the water. Before we disinfected water, it was typhus all the time. People would die from it. And then we started water filtration. Same thing, we should have air filtration. So, reading, learning history, learning from the giants that came before us, and handling stuff without panic, but with cool reasoning, allowed me to not be pushed by the crowd mentality and having my own independent mind. Now, you will ask, where does that come from? One of the places that comes from is from the constant lies that were being propagated about the Jews with the blood libel. Throughout history, even before the story of in Britain with I forgot the kid that was, they claimed, in the Canterbury tales, also it was in the 1300s repeated, about the boy that was killed and his blood was used in order to make masa or whatever it was made. Even before that, the Greeks were also saying that about the Jews, that they were trying to do the heathens, do it to sacrifice them. And yet the Jews know that they're not allowed to have any kind of blood in any meat. It's not allowed. So the entire world immunized us as Jews by propagating lies about how we behave, who we are, and yet we know ourselves that we are not like that. And so that was kind of a vaccine to allow us, when we read the history, to allow us to realize that, what, it is possible for the entire world to be wrong and for you to be right. It is possible, because you don't, even an egg that has a little blood, we don't eat. So how come we're going to kill a child? First of all, Jews were the first to forbid human sacrifice with Abraham's story. I mean, right? God tells them, no, I don't want a human sacrifice. Here is the ram, sacrifice the ram instead. During the time when it was obvious for everyone, like the world was flat, the same thing, that it was obvious to them that you sacrifice your most prized possession. Your most prized possession would be either your virgin daughter or your son.
Yeah.
So
I want to come back to the King's Race.
Sorry.
No, it's
Sorry.
all good. We connect in the
History,
dots here.
history road a little.
We were talking about spirituality, and so in the King's Race, it is very deeply moral and warming and relatable. When I think of the King's Race and life, how did you balance the spiritual undertones with the universal message of courage and kindness?
Again, the question between the courage and spirituality, how did I balance it?
Yes, because in the stories,
think
it gets beautiful. You move with spots, and then he gets into a new life with Dr. Levit, and Dr.
Right.
Levit teaches him these amazing Bible stories, which he utilizes in his own life as he conquers who he is, and also enters the race to save this amazing character that saved him.
John Adams, one of the presidents of the United States, told his son that there were two books that he had to read: the Peloponnesian War, and before that, the Bible. He said those two books always carry with you. The Peloponnesian War is a tough one. I was trying, but the Bible, I did read the entire Bible from cover to cover, and I think, like any of the stories that our parents tell us, this is how the Bible is. It's it's a storybook. You don't have to see it as a history book. You can see it as an inspirational book. You can see it as a path. You can see it as a spirituality lesson. But it it is there for everyone to read and to glean whatever they want to glean out of it. It's kind of like you know, the vitamins are there for you, but you need to absorb them.
Right.
So
It's kind of like the King's Race. You're going to absorb this great wisdom from this heroic horse called Spot.
right,
Uh,
right.
I want to ask you one last question. If readers could remember just one line or lesson from this book, The King's Race, what would you hope it to be?
Well, it would be just to have a ball, as the spot says, and that means to believe, achieve, love, and live, and let others live. This is important for us. We seem to forget it. We want to have a ball, but we don't really realize what the root of having a ball requires. And really, to be happy, you need to have the pillars that give you structure in order to be happy. Otherwise, it's not really happiness, but it is really just satisfying a whim that will disappear and will never satiate you. And when you think about those pillars, you will be able to sustain and always return back to what will keep you happy.
Eyal, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here to share and shine your own light and spark and to share the wisdom of just have a ball. This is way more than a book and makes for great story time with that amazing kiddo that you love. Would like to ask anyone watching to please hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this amazing book called The King's Race. The link is in the description below. And lastly, remember, your words and your business will change the world when you're brave enough to share them in a bigger way. Thank you for joining us.
Can I say something?
Of course.
I want to say that when you read the book, even though it's a children's book, there are many lessons that you can glean and take for yourself as an adult as well. And not to reveal too much, but I put even hidden codes over there. And the hidden codes are even in the number of words that are being used there. So when you are going to read it and you see different numbers, the numbers imply certain things. So for those who I did an honor thesis in the university in a book that was completely misunderstood. Brilliant book. It's called The Eshel, with my professor um, at NYU. I'm just blanking on his name, but he had 5 different um, titles. He was a PhD, philosopher, physicist, mathematician, rabbi, and can't believe that I'm blanking on his name right now. Anyways, yeah, what an embarrassment. But I love the guy. He died since then, unfortunately. But yeah, so don't feel bad if you don't get it, but I'm willing to either give you answers, but if there are any questions, please, you can send them to Kelly. You can send them to me on my Instagram, I guess, at Levit Dermatology or at Eyal Levit MD, and I'll be happy to discuss it. And maybe we can make another date where we can just dissect the book slowly if there is interest, and we can do it together with the amazing children's book writer, Kelly. So thank you,
This
Kelly,
is
again.
fascinating. You're welcome. This is fascinating. I love that there is some hidden codes. So you heard it from us here with Dr. Levit and me, KJ Kushila, also known as Kelly VDH Kushila. Once you watch this, go have a lovely day. And thank you. Bye.
Thank you.